We're following breaking developments today in the search for answers on autism. It's been a day we've been waiting for a very long time, and that can happen any minute now. Thanks for joining us on Spin Room. I'm Vanessa Broussard. For decades, families have asked the same question: what causes autism in children? The Trump administration is set to reveal new findings any minute that could reshape what we know. Let's go to our Kara Castronova now with more on what we can expect there. Kara, you're in New York right now for the UN General Assembly, the 80th meeting. It's a big week ahead there and a big day for autism research, so a lot going on. What can you tell us?
We're here at the UN right now. It's packed in New York. There's world leaders here from all 193 nations that are part of the UN. President Trump is speaking tomorrow, so everybody's very excited about that. And the world leaders that are here today, hopefully we'll catch some of them and be able to report back to you. But they met on a number of subjects today. Just to give you a quick briefing about Russia and Ukraine, about Palestine being recognized as a state. Almost every country that was participating in that today voted yes, whereas the United States and Israel are the only two that are boycotting that. It's expected that France will announce recognizing Palestine as a state as well. And there was an emergency meeting earlier today regarding that Russian aircraft that was in NATO airspace. So a lot of things going on geopolitically, obviously, here at the United Nations, representatives here from around the world. But obviously at the White House, there's a lot of news going on, and we're anticipating this big announcement President Trump is about to make regarding autism. What is the cause of autism? Could it be Tylenol or folate, or not enough folate, or is it vaccinations is the question, and what is going to come out of this? I am seriously just sitting on edge, waiting to hear what comes out of the Oval Office, or rather the Roosevelt Room at the White House. I know that's expected any minute now. And if you guys could pull up that Open VAERS post, which I thought was a great post today, really regarding what causes autism, Open VAERS, if you could pull that up, posted today. I don't know what will be presented tomorrow, so I'll only say this: Tylenol, granted a liver toxin which given to toddlers alone, and it's given frequently, does not cause regression. People don't report seeing their child revert into autism after a fever unless it's following a well visit. So basically this report is saying that no, Tylenol might make autism worse, but really what causes it is vaccines. Vaccines, quote unquote, fire the gun, according to Open VAERS verified account on X. So I guess we'll have, there's only a few more minutes, Vanessa, before this announcement is made, and we'll get the administration's take on what their thoughts are on what causes autism. I know it's important to you as a mother and so many other mothers that we have on the network that have children and that are questioning these vaccinations. Carolyn Levitt spoke very elegantly on that today at the press briefing that was earlier at the White House at 1 p.m., saying that women, of course women have questions, and as they should, and their questions should be answered. Why is autism plaguing America's youth? Please take a listen to Caroline Levitt from today.
I think women for many years, in fact for decades, Ed, have been confused by the rapid increase in autism in this country. In the childhood epidemic, that is chronic epidemic, disease epidemic that is plaguing America's youth. Women are confused about that, and they want answers to that. And that's exactly what this administration is focused on finding. And before you jump to conclusions based on reports that the White House has not even confirmed, I would encourage everyone in this room to go into the 4 o'clock announcement with some critical thinking skills and with some open ears to actually listen to what the president and his team of outsiders have to say about this. And there will be a number of things that will be announced and discussed. And I think, I know as a mother myself, I speak, I believe, for many mothers across the country who really want answers to what is happening to our nation's children. So again, I won't get ahead of the president, but I think everyone in this room needs to tone down the judgment before you even hear what people are going to say.
I thought that was excellent advice, Vanessa, because obviously the mainstream media, for the most part, as you know, receives a lot of their funding from pharmaceutical ads. So their gut knee-jerk reaction is to just defend vaccines no matter what, which is unfortunate because it's obviously a journalist's job to question anything that's told to them, and that includes what's been a very long time the government narrative on vaccines, which is the more vaccines, the merrier. So Carolyn Levitt, I thought, put it really well, saying before you jump the gun, why don't you listen to what we have to say? Listen to the science. Listen to what that Secretary of Health and Human Services and his team has put together. Vanessa.
Yeah, Kara. And, I was looking at social media just last night, and I saw a few posts from some doctors who said that this is just going to be, the Trump administration push for their agenda. But as a mother, you look at who's really having an agenda here and has had an agenda for years. Big Pharma, who makes billions off of these vaccines and medicines that they're giving our children and pregnant mothers. The pediatricians who get paid per shot, per jab that they give our child. And so we have been wanting answers for a very long time. As you know, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has made it his mission in the MAHA movement to find answers as to why so many children are being diagnosed with autism at such a young age, and the numbers are staggering. They're so very high, and we're seeing it more in little boys as well. So hopefully they're getting to the root cause of this. We'll have some answers today, here shortly, in a minute now. We have a standby right now from the White House that they will begin shortly. But, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Kara, has said this from the get-go that by the end of September, he will release some information by his team of researchers, these scientists, what they've found by the end of September. And here we are, September 22nd. And so it's a day that a lot of mothers, parents, fathers as well, have been waiting for a very long time. We need to get to the root cause. And if it is because of money, then that just proves the point that Big Pharma has been in this for a very long time. But if you look back over the decades, Kara, years ago, we didn't have this many jabs for children, but why so many now? And the ingredients have changed as well. And with that, you have seen more increases in autism cases. So there's been a lot of talk about the vaccines. There's been a lot of talk recently about pregnant mothers who use Tylenol. They could use these type of over-the-counter drugs like baby Tylenol, whether it's for blood clots, the fear of blood clots, or whatever the case may be. But doctors are prescribing this, and you'd think it's harmless. But is it harmful?
Right.
We just don't know. And so hopefully we'll get some answers today.
Yeah, I mean, it's been told to women for a very long time that Tylenol is this quote unquote safest option when it comes to pain medications as compared to ibuprofen and all of these others. I'm not a scientist, like I said, but the fact that scientists have, or doctors rather, or maybe Tylenol lobbyists, I don't know, continue to say Tylenol is safe for pregnant mothers, and now it comes out that it's not, is very, very scary. Vanessa, I don't know what to say. It sort of reminds me of when they said that smoking was safe for mothers, and then obviously that was not the case and was obviously misinformation given to us by scientists. So who knows? I'm very much looking forward, as I know you are, to what comes out of the Oval Office momentarily.
Absolutely, and we'll continue to follow your report the rest of the day and into tomorrow. Again, President Trump does speak there tomorrow, so you'll have a full report there. So we thank you for being there and providing content for us from New York. Kara, thank you for that.
Thanks, Vanessa. Have a good show.
Thank you. Again, we're waiting for President Trump and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. To make this announcement on medical and scientific findings for America's children. And while we wait, it can happen any minute now, I want to talk about the positive movement and inspiring message that reached the world yesterday during Charlie Kirk's memorial service. A lot of people still reeling from the passing of Charlie Kirk, the murder, the assassination of Charlie Kirk. But I feel like yesterday was sort of a closure for the nation, for us to witness this inspiring memorial service so we can move forward in memory of Charlie Kirk. We have with us today a dear friend of mine, Daniel Ferder. He's with Patriot Kids Foundation. Daniel, thank you so much for joining us. Glad to have you on. You were there yesterday inside the arena. Tell us what the mood was like.
Well, first of all, thank you so much, Vanessa, for having me here on your spin room. It's actually an honor. It's actually my first time here. I've been on other different programs you've had in the past, but first time here on spin room. And a quick hi to everyone who is watching us through Lindell TV. Vanessa, the mood yesterday was something I did not expect at all. I expected something that was going to be completely sad. Your ordinary funeral, everyone black and white, everyone crying, everyone sad because of what had happened and what he represented, and now he's gone. But it was actually complete opposite. What happened yesterday was something that I believe was the best thing they could do, which was a revival. It wasn't, as Trump would say, the radical left would do, a riot, as Mrs. Erica Kirk had said. We're not doing a riot as the radical left does. We're doing a revival. It was a day of really acknowledging the blessing that God had given us of having someone that had fought so much for this nation, for this country, for the Judeo Christian principles, and that even though now he's gone, his memory and his mission will continue on. And throughout the day, I did recognize something, that was that Charlie Kirk's life was cut short, but his mission wasn't. His mission will keep on and growing faster than ever. If we go back to the remarks of Erica Kirk last week, we can see how she herself says that they didn't just make her sad, but they actually started a fire inside her heart. And that is the same fire that's inside each and every American and each and every young American in the United States right now. And also, Vanessa, I want to point something out, which is that what happened to Charlie isn't just a tragedy, but it's a wake up call. It's a wake up call that we are not safe if we do not keep fighting for free speech every single day. Because if you look what Charlie Kirk did, he would give his ideas and let others express their ideas too. So it wasn't just one way, it was both ways. And when you start looking at it, he was a person of respect. He was a person that would never raise his voice. He was a person that you could talk to him, and even though you were the most horrible person saying the most horrible things in the world, he would treat you with respect and with the values that he was taught in the Bible, in the Ten Commandments, which is something which is just completely amazing. And also, there's something that everyone should recognize. A bullet can take a person's life, but not a movement's purpose. And a bullet can take a person's life, but it can't never hide the strength of the truth. And that truth is what Charlie Kirk was sharing with everyone, with every young American, trying to get that truth to them, to their hearts, to their minds, every single day that they were on campus. And we can already see how people are uniting. We had seen this huge fight in between President Trump and Elon Musk, and they come together this day. They come together to recognize that, hey, our nation is going to fall apart if we do not unite. That's one of the most important things that we have to recognize. If we do not unite, the United States of America will completely dissolve and will burn to ashes. And the murder of Charlie was not for what he said, but what he represented. No one except Charlie was brave enough to prove the radical left wrong, and not with bullets, but with words. And I had said this in various other videos too of mine, where I'm expressing what I felt about this what happened to Charlie. And I say, and it's really true, since they can't prove him wrong, they killed him. And that's the only way they have, because they don't have what Charlie Kirk had, what the right has, which is the ability to speak freely and to say what they want to say, because everything they do is on a script, and sometimes they even speak what's on the notes of the script. So you notice what comes from the truth, what comes from the side of everything's false, of everything's just an idea that they have created. And that's one of the things that I think we should work on the most. And I want to also share with you, Vanessa, that I had the honor this past May to be with Charlie in his investor summit in San Diego, California. His team actually invited me out there to be with him, and I could actually meet him personally, talk to him about how we could work together. And I think about it this way. I say we were almost about not to go because things were a bit tight. And we said, we have to go. And thank God we did, because for us, at least, it was going to be the last time we would ever see Charlie personally. And so it was something that was very important. And now more than ever, as I said, the most important thing is to unite and recognize that they can take a life, but they can't take a purpose.
You're absolutely right. And you had so many great points there. Well said, Daniel, as always. You talked about uniting, and we saw Elon Musk and President Trump uniting. I think I jumped out of my chair in excitement when I saw that live on TV. I was so excited to see them finally shake hands and sit side by side, because that's what it's all about. And we've seen more people come to Jesus than we have in years past. We've seen people open up a Bible for the first time. We've seen people go back to church. Charlie was a man of God. Erica is a woman of God. You met Charlie. You've been up to a lot of Turning Point USA events. I've been there with you at several of those events. What did Charlie mean to you as a young adult, young teenager? If you don't mind, somebody just asked me and I said, I don't know. Daniel's growing before my eyes. How old are you now, Daniel?
I'm 14. I turned 14 last July.
14. Okay, well, time flies. I met you when you were much younger. So for 14 years old, you have your own foundation, the Patriot Kids Foundation. You go to all of these events. You're well aware and well versed in, our country's history, what our founding fathers wanted for this nation. And then you see someone like Charlie Kirk, who you look up to at just 14 years old. What did he mean to you?
I look at Charlie, now that you were mentioning the founding fathers, and I see what we wanted to create, what we want to create with my nonprofit foundation, which is the next generation of founding fathers. And that is what you see in Charlie everywhere. Every single inch of Charlie is the next generation of founding fathers. You look at him, he's a man of values. He's a man of morals. He's a man of family, of dignity, of respect. He's a man that puts his country before everything. And he's a man who does this in the order that our founding fathers believed that it was the way we should do this to save the United States, which was God, country, and family. He put God first thing. He put his country on second thing after God, but also in the most important things he had, because if we don't have a country, we lose everything we have, and we even lose our families. And then he put his family, which for him was one of the most important things also. Erica and his 2 children were his most important thing. And for not just for me, but for every young American, Charlie was a sense of hope of what we could be tomorrow. He was the role model for every young American in the United States that we could look up and say, I want to be Charlie Kirk when I'm 30, 31. When I grow up, I want to have a family like him. I want to have, the power that he has. I want to have also, most importantly, the values, the faith that he has. And that was one of the most important things. And we can also go back to one of his interviews where they ask him, how do you want to be remembered if tomorrow you're gone? And he says, I want to be remembered as a man of faith. And that is what Charlie Kirk is remembered for everyone. A man of faith that put God on center, right on point. And that was one of the most important things for the founding fathers too. Because if you don't have God in the center of the equation of your rights, of your life, of everything you do, then you lose everything, because God is the center of America. And those values are the center of our founding fathers, of our fundamental, of our founding documents, of our fundamental principles that created this nation. It is everything that our founding fathers dreamed of is in Charlie Kirk, and especially in this generation today, because it's very hard and very weird to see someone so developed like that, and so Christian, patriotic, and a person that loves family like him today, as we see how the generation has basically been lost. But there's a lot of Gen Z that we can still save, and I say one thing. We have to move harder, faster, and smarter than ever, because elections are coming up, a lot of important things are coming up, and we have to work harder and faster and smarter than ever, because if we don't, we are going to lose the next generation. We're going to lose Gen Z, And believe me, even though it looks pretty lost, there's still a lot of people we can save. And there's a lot of also people that followed the word of Charlie Kirk and that were actually converted to conservatism, to Christianity, and to everything that what he represented.
You're so right. And you know, it's not a lost generation. That's who Charlie Kirk was reaching out to. We can still save this generation. And we're seeing it so much now in the last 12 days, Daniel, that people are wanting to turn to Turning Point USA chapters, create chapters, join chapters, going back to church, prayer vigils. Parents and grandparents alike are saying, you know, my grandkids have called me and said, you know, Mom or Grandma, I want to go to church with you on Sunday. And so we're seeing this revival. And unfortunately, we had to take the assassination of one of the best men that this country had to really waken up America and rattle us to the core. And so it has really put a spark under us, and we're seeing a great movement right now. Charlie Kirk always wished that he could fill a stadium, and he did that last night, and it was beautiful to see. You've touched on this, Daniel, but I want to elaborate a little more, because I feel that a lot of times, you know, a funeral's held after someone's passing and people go on with their daily lives and they go back to their normal, right? But we can't do that, not in this situation. So where do kids from your age group, where do they go from here?
You know, there's a lot of things that we can do from here, and which are very important. Number one is, I would say personally, first of all, as one of people I really respect and admire, the president of Hillsdale College says you have to start the day with the Bible. That is number one. Read classics, read the founding of America, but start your day with the Bible. It is what's going to lead us out of what we see today in the United States. And most importantly, it's what's going to create the next Charlie Kirks. And Charlie marked a before and after in this nation, a before and after in Christianity, in conservatism, in everything that represents his generation, which is the millennials. Everything that they represented was just a before and after. He, as Donald Trump Jr. was actually mentioning yesterday, he said Charlie had one of the biggest platforms in the entire world. And apart from all of that, he would give those people that thought completely the opposite of what he thought things that were sometimes satanical, things that were horrible for this nation, people that have no values, no morals, no respect, and he would give them a microphone and he would tell them, express your ideas. Tell me what you think. And he would say, well, I believe this and this and this. And then Charlie would say, okay, well, you got this right, but you got this and this and this and this wrong. And so that's where you notice the greatness of Charlie. And I think what we can do right now as Gen Z is start to involve ourselves in going to church, in learning more about what's happening in our nation day by day. And I think that one of the most important things is acknowledging the problem that America has today, which is a loss of interest from Gen Z and millennials in the founding and in the present of this nation. And that if we do not fix that, we do not have a nation.
Well, I think we're well on our way to fixing that, because there are teenagers out there like you, Daniel, who are doing great things. We had your website on the screen. We're going to pop that up here in a second again. You know, I just asked you, where do we go from here? We don't want this to go in the back of our minds now that the service is over, but there's so many things that's going on and how children can get involved. And you mentioned to me right before the show one thing coming up called Founding Fathers Week. Tell us about that.
Well, we had actually, with my nonprofit foundation, Patriot Kids Foundation, we had talked before about this project of Founding Fathers Week, which is a whole week where children in the week of September 17th, which is the week of the Constitution, We want them to learn exactly who our founding fathers were. And we don't want them to learn about just 3 or 4. We want them to dive deep into who our founding fathers were, their Christianity, their values, their religion, their ways of living, and also one of the most important things, which is why we've lost this interest in the founding era of Gen Z and millennials. A lot of people say, well, the founding fathers owned slaves, but you can't judge what happened more than 200 years ago by the norms that were in that moment okay. So if we go from 200 years from now on, we'll say people from 200 years from now will say, look at these people. They had phones. How can you have phones? And you'll say, well, it was our norms. That's how we lived. And so no one can really, I don't think we can judge that. That's one of the things we want to teach, that apart from everything, because no one's perfect, apart from everything that they say that our founding fathers did wrong, were invirtuous, or had anything to do that was completely against the word of God, we want them to also know the good side of the founding fathers. Because the founding fathers had more good than bad. They were men of values, men of virtues, men that put God, country, and family in that order. And that is what we need to learn to make the next generation of founding fathers. If we don't do this, we don't have a nation.
You're so right, and I'm so proud of you and everything that you're doing. I know that you're also a part of Blexit, and correct me if I'm wrong on the exact title here, but almost like a chapter lead for the South Florida area. You have Patriot Kids Foundation. We have the website on our screen right now, patriotkids.foundation. You're always somewhere. I can't keep up with you or your family because you're always on the go doing great things. You're going to these conferences, you're getting involved, but most importantly, yes, it is very important to be involved. But Daniel, you have educated yourself at such a young age on this country's history and our nation and what our foundation is. And so that gives you the knowledge to fight and to go forward and to pick up that microphone like Charlie Kirk and have that conversation with people because you're very knowledgeable. And I think that is so important for our younger generation. You know, they know TikTok dances and they know the latest Taylor Swift song, but I bet they can't name a founding father. And so it's so important that we teach these children at a younger age, and I'm talking to all parents. Look, I have a little one at home. He can barely say any words yet, but once he gets to talking, we're going to start having that conversation because it's so very important. In order to love our country, you have to know about our country. And so I'm very proud of you and everything that you've done. Tell us real quick of how people can get involved with your foundation, Patriot Kids Foundation.
Well, they can go to my website, patriotkids.foundation, and they can find everything there. There is a donate button at the very top of the page, and they can communicate with us. Also, if they scroll completely down the page, and they can communicate with us, and they can see our projects. They can see what events we've been to. They can see what we're doing right now. And there's a lot of stuff that is incredible, and that I think that have come up just because of the grace of the Lord. And Vanessa, I want to, now that you were talking about the education of children and that and everything that represented learning about the American nation. John Jay said this, especially about the Constitution, but I think we can apply this everywhere. He said, it is the role of the people to be educated on the Constitution. But most importantly, he said this. He said, you have to read, study, and teach the rising generation to be free. So that's the most important thing we can do. We need to read the Constitution. We need to study the Constitution. We have to teach it. And we also have to teach to be free to the next generation of America. And that's the only way we can preserve this nation. Also, you can go and follow me on Instagram as Daniel_Ferrer, Ferrer 2011. That would be the biggest support. We are trying to get to 12,000 followers now. And I think that the best thing that we can do right now is just come together as a nation and say, okay, I have my children and I don't know what to do with them. Get them into organizations like Turning Point USA, like my organization, Patriot Kids Foundation. And there's so much stuff we can do, so much things that the American nation needs to be done in there, that we can actually work together and make the next generation of founding fathers. And I believe that the most important thing is communicating for anyone who says, well, this kid's bright and amazing, and I want him to come and speak. That's one of the things that we mostly base on. And Vanessa knows that. We go out and speak at churches, at conferences, at event halls, at universities, at private schools.
At
We go
schools, yes.
at schools, and we talk everywhere we can, because the most important thing is getting our message out, that if we don't involve ourselves as the next generation in our nation, in our founding, we don't have a nation. And that's the most important thing, and learning the fundamental principles that created this nation, and also learning one of the most important things, that this nation was based on the principles of God, the Bible, and the Ten Commandments.
Absolutely. You inspire me every single day, Daniel. I had to giggle a little bit whenever you talked about your Instagram page, and the viewers are probably, if they heard me, probably wondering why. It's because way back when we both had not many followers on Instagram, we had a little competition going, and Daniel would send me random texts that he was going to beat me in the number of Instagram followers, and he has. But it's okay. I'll let him take that huge lead that he has right now, because it's for a great cause, and he's doing great things. And so, Daniel, congratulations to you. You beat me in Instagram followers. So proud of you. And I know you'll be at Turning Point America Fest in December as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
all right.
That's the best thing we can do. Yeah, it's the best thing we can do right now. Go to these events, get involved, and learn how. And JFK said this amazingly. Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. And that's what we need today. Ask what we personally can do for our nation. Is that from our church, from our home, from our schools, from our local events? What we can do for our nation to save the next generation of founding fathers.
You're such an inspiration. So proud of you. Just 14 years old, doing great things. Patriot Kids Foundation, another organization out there that all children and kids need to get involved in. Daniel's doing great things. He was actually a special guest at one of President Trump's rallies in Miami a couple of years ago. So President Trump even has his eye out on you. And Daniel, what did you ask President Trump when you met him backstage?
Well, I asked him that if I could speak with him on stage one day, and he said, well, of course, we can do that. And I gave him my my business card back when then I was 11 years old. And I told him, well, you have my business card. You can call me whenever you want.
And then there was another time you said, if I ever run for president, will you endorse me? So yeah, Daniel is already out there campaigning.
Yeah, he's actually the one who said, you're going to be the next president of the United States. And I told him, well, if I want to win, I'm going to need your endorsement.
Absolutely. Well, you're well on your way. Very proud of you. Good luck to you. I'm glad you got to experience that in person yesterday. I think all young children, teenagers should have experienced that. And we know that they did. Millions upon millions watched yesterday, but to see it in person, I'm sure, was just heartwarming. So we love you, Daniel. We're proud of you. Keep doing the great work.
Thank you, Vanessa, and thank you for everyone that is watching. Again, my Instagram is Daniel_2011. Don't admit it to Vanessa. I kind of did pass her a long time ago. But
you did.
Thank you so much for everyone, and thank you, Vanessa, for having me here on your show. It's always a pleasure and an honor to be with you.
Thank you, Daniel. Have a great day. And we're continuing to wait for President Trump to make an announcement. It's supposed to happen any second now. We have been given a standby by the White House. That announcement on medical and scientific findings for America's children having to do with autism. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has said it many times that he will get to the root cause of what's causing the spike of autism in our children. They have a report to release today. That report is going to be aired live right here on Lindell TV. We're going to take a quick break as we wait, and we'll be right back. Stay with us.
Swollen limbs, joint pain, inflammation, skin aging, and cognitive decline. These are just a few of the awful side effects that you can experience due to poor blood circulation. And popping ibuprofen is not a solution to the pain. It's only temporary relief, and it's only masking the true problem, which is inflammation. Researchers are saying to add this Antarctic super nutrient to your diet. I'm talking about omega-3 fatty acids, but not just any form of omegas. These particular omega-3 fatty acids are sourced from wild-caught krill. Has been shown to support healthy blood pressure, circulation, brain health, as well as reduce inflammation, swelling, and joint pain. For a limited time, you can grab Native Path Antarctic Krill Oil for up to 66% off plus free shipping. Just go to getkrill.com/Lindell right now to get your special offer.
Welcome to Vocal, the free speech social app that gives you a platform to amplify your voice. Speak freely, connect boldly, and be part of a growing movement for truth, faith, and freedom. Want to know what's happening right now? The Now Playing feature shows you exactly who's live and what's streaming in real time. Check out the show's feed, a non-stop lineup including Lindell TV News 24/7, shows and on-demand programming all in one place. Connect with your favorite host and never miss a show. Explore the featured page for quick access to Lindell TV's top shows. Follow your favorites and watch their newest content flow right into your feed. And when they go live on Vocal, you can join the live chat and be part of the action. Ask questions, share your thoughts, even help shape future shows. Stay informed on issues around securing our elections by following your state's Cause of America account. Join a group and connect on a deeper level, from faith and freedom to the future of our nation. Go to vocal.com or download the app today and be a part of the mission to save our country.
Whether it's being a weekend warrior or spending time with your family, feeling your best is the key to doing the things you love. That's why I'm excited to tell you about Nirvanta. It's a natural solution designed to help you stay active and live well naturally. Nirvanta is a topical blend of all natural essential oils like frankincense, myrrh, and a proprietary gold standard plant stock extract. It's perfect for your hands, feet, knees, back, or anywhere else that needs a little extra care. Use Nirvanta proactively as part of your daily maintenance routine, and you're guaranteed you're going to feel the difference. Simply massage Nirvanta in for at least 60 seconds, 2 to 3 times a day to get the best results. And if you're not completely satisfied, you get your money back. No questions asked. There's simply no risk and no reason not to try Nirvanta today. Right now, you get 15% off with code Lindell exclusively at nirvantahealth.com. So stop reaching out for that medicine cabinet. Get Nirvanta instead and experience the difference. Go to nirvantahealth.com. Use code Lindell to get 15% off today. Nirvanta Health. Live well naturally.
Welcome back to Spin Room. We are continuing to wait for President Trump, RFK Jr., and many others to release their findings. Should happen any minute. It was supposed to start about 30 minutes ago, but they're running a little behind. Their findings for America's children when it comes to autism. And so that's a report we've been waiting on for a while. And so we will bring that to you live as soon as they begin. In the meantime, the White House is taking aim at New York Attorney General Letitia James. There's a probe. We've been talking about it for a long time of mortgage fraud against the AG, to which she has denied. But the White House says they have the proof. Here's more from Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt.
Let me just walk you through Letitia James. Letitia James completely abused her oath of office. Letitia James was actively and openly engaged in lawfare. You talk about weaponizing the Department of Justice. What was Letitia James's campaign slogan? It was prosecute Donald Trump. She was saying she was going to prosecute Donald Trump before she even knew if Donald Trump committed a crime, which of course we did not. Those are not the words of a serious prosecutor. Those are the words of a corrupt politician who is abusing their power. She actively campaigned on that. She also led the witch hunt, the financial fraud investigation against President Trump and the Trump Organization, and an appeals court tossed that case out, a $500 million civil fraud penalty in August, which was another win for the president and exonerated him of this witch hunt and showed that this is an individual who is corrupt and abused her oath of office. And we also have evidence of her mortgage fraud. An April report from a white-collar fraud investigator found that there was documented evidence that James engaged in a consistent pattern of financial and property disclosures that raise serious legal questions.
But why won't the president accept the conclusions of his Justice Department to not bring charges against Letitia James? In fact, you had Bondi and Blanche top DOJ leadership who were against ousting Eric Siebert, who again was picked by President Trump.
I just answered that question for you, and the president has every right to express how he feels about these people who literally campaigned on trying to put him in jail, who literally tried to ruin his life and ruin his businesses, and he wants to see accountability for those who abuse their office and abuse their power. And Letitia James absolutely did that, whether you want to admit it or not.
Is that not
Jeff,
retribution, though?
Jeff, it's accountability.
As you know, Peekaboo went after Trump with those false allegations, like Caroline Levitt just said. Peekaboo ran on the campaign promise that she'll get Trump. So he sat in a New York courtroom for weeks for bogus allegations. Now the tables have turned, and the DOJ says it has plenty of evidence of mortgage fraud as well as information on James, turning a blind eye to illegal financial dealings taking place at a New York bank. It's an exclusive we've been telling you about here on Spin Room for months, and we'll continue to update you as the pressure is put on for charges to be filed against Letitia James. Now let's take a look at how the stock market closed out the day today. Going to marketwatch.com, taking a look at the big board. The Dow, the S&P 500, and the NASDAQ all closed in the green today, so a very strong day on Wall Street to start the week. And the White House is celebrating great economic outcomes. It's looking good in our economy, finally moving forward. Here's more from Caroline Levitt.
In other news, positive economic data continues to pour in. Brand new polling shows that Americans' faith in the economy and the direction of the nation is back on track and shooting even higher. Home ownership is more affordable, with mortgage rates dropping to a 3-year low. For new home buyers, this represents a $250 decline in your monthly mortgage payment, or nearly $3,000 a year. And President Trump has made it very clear he wants to continue to see mortgage rates decline to a record low, just like they did in his first term. Thanks to President Trump's unleashing energy dominance, gas prices are dropping and Americans are spending the smallest share of their disposable income on gasoline since 2005. Additionally, the annual cost to own and operate a new vehicle is down by nearly 6% over the last year. Americans are earning more and they are spending more than ever before. After inflation outpaced for 26 straight months under Joe Biden, real wages have increased nearly every month since President Trump took office, with wages for blue-collar workers rising at the fastest rate in 6 decades. Retail sales are also booming, up 5% over last year, and the stock market is booming, and Americans' retirement accounts continue to do well, with the Dow, S&P 500, and NASDAQ all hitting new record highs. In fact, the S&P 500 is up nearly 15%, and the NASDAQ is up more than 21% since Election Day.
Yeah, so again, a good time right now on Wall Street, the stock market, and for everyday Americans who are just trying to live paycheck to paycheck. As Caroline Levitt just said, they're making more right now and they're able to spend more. And I'm hearing that a lot from small business owners as well. They're seeing more foot traffic coming into their stores, which is good news. We are continuing to wait for President Trump to make the announcement on his studies, his team studies, medical and scientific findings for America's children when it comes to autism. We are waiting on the White House saying that we will begin shortly, and they're actually doing doing a test run right now. So that should happen any second now. We're continuing to wait. We're going to take a quick commercial break and hopefully have that for you when we come right back. Stay with us here on Spin Room.
If you want to drop extra pounds, boost energy levels, and reduce swelling in your legs and feet, then this message is for you. Pure Health Research is on a mission to make America healthy again, and two of their best-selling health supplements are leading the way. First is Liver Health Formula. Over 100 million Americans have a sluggish liver that's riddled with fatty deposits. This can kill your metabolism, pile on the pounds, and make you feel tired. Liver Health Formula takes care of that. It supports thriving liver health with special nutrients like artichoke extract and milk thistle. This is one of the easiest ways to slim down and revitalize your energy levels. Next is lymph system support. If you struggle with fluid buildup or swelling in your legs, ankles, and feet, this is for you. The natural ingredients in lymph system support help gently flush away extra fluid and toxins out of your body. And right now, for a limited time, you can get 35% off Liver Health Formula and Lymph System Support, along with 50 plus other health supplements that Pure Health Research has to offer. So head over to purehealthresearch.com and use promo code Lindell at checkout. That's purehealthresearch.com, promo code Lindell to save 35% on your order today. To celebrate our newest launch, Rev 7, I'm bringing you an amazing introductory offer, plus an exclusive overstock sale that you're not going to want to miss. Rev 7 is our premium energy drink that tastes great and gives you energy all day with no jitters and no crashes. That's because there's no sugar and no caffeine. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7 that for a limited time you can try our 3-pack absolutely free. Or check out our Percale bed sheets. I can't believe I'm even going to say this. Every color, every style, every size, only $29.88. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save.
All right, we're back now here on Spin Room. President Trump is now speaking with the latest information he has for America dealing with autism in children. Take a listen.
Health professionals as we announce historic steps to confront the crisis of autism. Horrible, horrible crisis. I want to thank the man who brought this issue to the forefront of American politics along with me. And we actually met in my office, is it like 20 years ago, Bobby? It's probably 20 years ago in New York. I was a developer, as you probably heard, and I always had very strong feelings about autism and how it happened and where it came from. And he and I don't know, the word got out, and I wouldn't say that people were very understanding of where we were, but it's turning out that we understood a lot more than a lot of people who studied it, we think. And I say we think because I don't think they were really letting the public know what they knew. Thanks as well to the director of the National Institute of Health, Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, FDA Commissioner Dr. Marty McCary. These are great people. Administrator of the Centers for Medicine and Medicaid Services, Dr. Mehmet Oz, and Acting Assistant Secretary of HHS, Dr. Dorothy Fink. So thank you all. Thank you, Dorothy, very much. The meteoric rise in autism is among the most alarming public health developments in history. There's never been anything like this. Just a few decades ago, 1 in 10,000 children had autism. So that's not a long time. And I've always heard, you know, they say a few, but I think it's a lot less time than that. It used to be 1 in 20,000, then 1 in 10,000. And I would say that's probably 18 years ago. And now it's 1 in 31, but in some areas it's much worse than that, if you can believe it, 1 in 31. And I gave numbers yesterday. For boys, it's 1 in 12. I was told that's in California where they have for some reason, a more severe problem. But whether it's 1 in 12 or 1 in 31, can you imagine? That's down from 1 in 20,000, then 1 in 10,000. And now we're at the level of 1 in 12 in some cases for boys, 1 in 31 overall. So since 2000, autism rates have surged by much more than 400%. Instead of attacking those who ask questions, everyone should be grateful for those who are trying to get the answers to this complex situation. And the first day all of these great doctors behind me were there, I told them this is what we have to find out. Because when you go from 20,000 to 10,000 and then you go to 12, you know there's something artificial. They're taking something. And by the way, I think I can say that there are certain groups of people that don't take vaccines and don't take any pills that have no autism. That have no autism. Does that tell you something? That's currently, is that a correct statement, by the way?
There are some studies that suggest that, yeah, with the Amish, for example.
The Amish, yeah, virtually. I heard none. See, Bobby wants to be very careful with what he says, and he should, but I'm not so careful with what I say. But you have certain groups. The Amish, as an example, they have essentially no autism. First, effective immediately, the FDA will be notifying physicians that the use of well, let's see how we say that. Acetaminophen. Is that okay? Which is basically commonly known as Tylenol during pregnancy, can be associated with a very increased risk of autism. So taking Tylenol is not good. All right, I'll say it. It's not good. For this reason, they are strongly recommending that women limit Tylenol use during pregnancy unless medically necessary. That's, for instance, in cases of extremely high fever, that you feel you can't tough it out, you can't do it. I guess there's that. It's a small number of cases, I think. But if you can't tough it out, if you can't do it, that's what you're going to have to do. You'll take a Tylenol, but it'll be very sparingly. It can be something that's very dangerous to the woman's health. In other words, a fever that's very, very dangerous, and ideally a doctor's decision, because I think you shouldn't take it. And you shouldn't take it during the entire pregnancy. They may tell you that toward the end of the pregnancy, you shouldn't take it during the entire. And you shouldn't give the child the Tylenol every time he's born and he goes and has a shot. You shouldn't give a Tylenol to that child. All pregnant women should talk to their doctors for more information about limiting the use of this medication while pregnant. So ideally, you don't take it at all, but if you can't tough it out, if there's a problem, you're going to end up doing it. The other thing that I can tell you that I'll say that they will maybe say at a little bit later date, but I think when you go for the shot, you do it over a 5-time period. Take it over 5 times or 4 times, but you take it in smaller doses and you spread it out over a period of years. And they pump so much stuff into those beautiful little babies. It's a disgrace. I don't see it. I think it's very bad. They're pumping, it looks like they're pumping into a horse. You have a little child, little fragile child, and you get a vat of 80 different vaccines, I guess, 80 different blends, and they pump it in. So ideally, a woman won't take Tylenol. And on the vaccines, it would be good instead of one visit where they pump the baby, load it up with stuff, you'll do it over a period of 4 times or 5 times. I've been so into this issue for so many years just because I couldn't understand how a thing like this could happen. And it's artificially induced. It's not like something that when you go from all of those, healthy babies to a point where I don't even know structurally if a country can afford it. And that's the least of the problems. To have families destroyed over this is just so terrible. I also and we've already done this, we want no mercury in the vaccine. We want no aluminum in the vaccine. The MMR, I think, should be taken separately. This is based on what I feel, the mumps, measles, and all the three should be taken separately. And it seems to be that when you mix them, there could be a problem. So there's no downside in taking them separately. In fact, they think it's better, so let it be separate. The chicken pox is already separate, because when that got mixed in, I guess they made it for a while, it really was bad. So they make chicken pox. Individually, they're okay. When you mix them, something maybe happens. So there's no downside in doing it. It's not like, oh, if you do it, bad things. No, it's only good side. And it may not have that much of an impact, but it may have a big impact. So let those be taken separately. And then hepatitis B is sexually transmitted. There's no reason to give a baby that's almost just born hepatitis B. So I would say wait till the baby is 12 years old and formed and take hepatitis B. And I think if you do those things, it's going to be a whole different, it's going to be a revolution in a positive sense in the country. The FDA will be updating the label of an existing drug to reflect potential benefits in reducing some autism symptoms. This gives hope to the many parents with autistic children that it may be possible to improve their lives. That's one of the things that I'm very, very happy about. I mean, this was mostly going to be on how not to have the child affected, but we've learned some pretty good things about certain elements of genius that can be given to a baby, and the baby can get better, and in some cases maybe substantially better. Not going to be easy, but be a lot easier if it didn't happen in the first place, as these great parents fully understand, right? They fully understand. I feel so terribly for, I have so many friends with autistic children. It's a tough situation. Finally, to help reach the ultimate goal of ending the autism fever, the NIH will be announcing 13 major grant awards from the Autism Data Science Initiatives. And to be honest with you, to me, that's the least important. It's not even a money thing at this point. There's so much money, but they have to do, and they have to move quickly. When the alternative is that nothing bad can happen, let's do it now. I was just saying to Bobby and the group, let's do it now. Nothing bad can happen. It can only good happen. But with Tylenol, don't take it. Don't take it. And if you can't live, if your fever is so bad, you have to take one, because there's no alternative to that. Sadly, first question, what can you take instead? It's actually, there's not an alternative to that. And as you know, other of the medicines are absolutely proven bad. I mean, they've been proven bad with the aspirins and the Advils and others, right? And they've been proven bad. So I'd like to ask Bobby to get up to the podium and say a few words, and then Dr. Bhattacharya and Dr. McCary, Dr. Oz, Dr. Fink, followed by two incredible mothers that have experienced firsthand what this country is going through, what parts of the world are going through. And I will say there are parts of the world that don't take Tylenol. I mean, there's a rumor, and I don't know if it's so or not, that Cuba, they don't have Tylenol because they don't have the money for Tylenol, and they have virtually no autism, okay? Tell me about that one. And there are other parts of the world where they don't have Tylenol, where they don't have autism. That tells you a lot. And I want to say it right now. And you know, the way I look at it, don't take it. Don't take it. There's no downside in not taking it. So I'd like to ask Bobby to come up and say a few words. I hope I didn't ruin his day, but that's the way I feel. I've been very strong on the subject for a long time. You know, life is common sense, too. And there's a lot of common sense in this, and I wish things like this were brought up, and this group has worked so hard on it, but I'd like to be a little bit more, a little speedier in the process of a recommendation, because there's no harm in going quicker. There's absolutely no harm. At worst, there's no harm. Thank you very much. Bobby, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. To meet the president's challenge, I ordered HHS to launch an unprecedented all-agency effort to identify all causes of autism, including toxic and pharmaceutical exposures. At President Trump's urging, NIH, FDA, CDC, and CMS are turning over every stone to identify the etiology of the autism epidemic and how patients and parents can prevent and reverse this alarming trend. We have broken down the traditional silos that have long separated these agencies, and we have fast-tracked research and guidance. Historically, NIH has focused almost solely on politically safe and entirely fruitless research about the genetic drivers of autism. And that would be like studying the genetic drivers of lung cancer without looking at cigarettes. And that's what NIH has been doing for 20 years. As a result, we don't have an answer to this critical question, despite the cataclysmic impact of the epidemic on our nation's children. We are now replacing the institutional culture of politicized science and corruption with evidence-based medicine. NIH research teams are currently testing multiple hypotheses with no area off limits. We promise transparency as we uncover the potential causes and treatments, and we will notify the public regularly of our progress. Today, we are announcing two important findings from our autism work that are vital for parents to know as they make these decisions. First, HHS will act on acetaminophen. The FDA is responding to clinical and laboratory studies that suggest a potential association between acetaminophen use during pregnancy and adverse neurodevelopmental outcomes, including later diagnosis for ADHD and autism. Scientists have proposed biological mechanisms linking prenatal acetaminophen exposure to altered brain development. We have also evaluated the contrary studies that show no association. Today, the FDA will issue a physician's notice about the risk of acetaminophen during pregnancy and begin the process to initiate a safety label change. HHS will launch a nationwide public service campaign to inform families and protect public health. FDA also recognized that acetaminophen is often the only tool for fevers and pain in pregnancy, as other alternatives have well-documented adverse effects. HHS wants, therefore, to encourage clinicians to exercise their best judgment in the use of acetaminophen for fevers and pain in pregnancy by prescribing the lowest effective dose for the shortest necessary duration and only when treatment is required. Furthermore, thanks also to the politicization of science, the safety of acetaminophen against the risk of neurodevelopmental disorders in young children has never been validated. Prudent medicine, therefore, suggests caution in acetaminophen use by young children, especially since strong evidence also has associated it with liver toxicity. Some studies have also found the use of acetaminophen in children can potentially prolong viral illnesses. FDA will drive new research to safeguard mothers, children, and families. In addition to a possible acetaminophen connection to autism for pregnant women, infants, and toddlers, our research has revealed that folate deficiency in a child's brain can lead to autism. We have also identified an exciting therapy that may benefit large numbers of children who suffer from autism. Peer-reviewed literature has documented that up to 60% of folate-deficient children with ASD can have improved verbal communications if given leucovorin. I have instructed NIH, FDA, and CMS to help doctors treat children appropriately. Jay will help tell that story, which started with sound science, the kind that restores faith in government. This announcement also represents a historic collaboration between NIH, FDA, CDC, and CMS. We expect this to be the first of many announcements over the coming years that deliver actionable information to parents on underlying cause of autism and the potential paths for prevention and reversal. Finally, Autism is a complex disorder with multifactorial etiology. We are continuing to investigate a multiplicity of potential causes with no areas of taboo. One area that we are closely examining, as the President mentioned, is vaccines. Some 40 to 70% of mothers who have children with autism believe that their child was injured by a vaccine. President Trump believes that we should be listening to these mothers instead of gaslighting and marginalizing them like prior administrations. Some of our friends like to say that we should believe all women. But some of these same people have been silencing and demonizing these mothers for 3 decades because research on the potential link between autism and vaccines has been actively suppressed in the past. It will take time for an honest look at this topic by scientists. But I want to reassure the people in the autism community that we will be uncompromising and relentless in our search for answers. We will perform the studies that should have been performed 25 years ago. Whatever the answer is, we will tell you what we find. We are researching this issue to all 3 agencies. Jay will discuss one of our research initiatives at NIH. This model of unleashing unbiased, depoliticized, gold standard scientific research and academic freedom to deliver actionable information to prevent and reverse disease will be a model for the framework to deliver similar results for many other chronic conditions that plague Americans. Jay?
Thank you, Secretary Kennedy, and thank you, President Trump. Thank you very much. I'm proud to announce today that the NIH has launched the Autism Data Science Initiative to turbocharge autism research, devoting an additional $50 million to the cause of studying autism. Nearly 250 research teams from across the country applied, sent in their applications, and were peer-reviewed by the NIH review panels. The NIH peer reviewers chose the 13 best projects focused on root causes and therapies, with replication and validation studies to guarantee gold standard science. The studies feature a new kind of science called exposomics, where scientists consider environmental and medical factors, nutrition, events during pregnancy, in combination with biology and genetics to answer vital questions about autism. Science like this, conducted in partnership with families and physicians, is the best way to arrest and reverse the autism epidemic. Autism spectrum disorder encompasses a very wide range of symptoms, ranging from mild difficulties with social interactions to profoundly autistic children who experience severe disabilities in speech and behavior. Given this wide range of symptoms across the spectrum, it seems certain that there will be a wide range of biological contributors to explaining the cause. The great thing about the new NIH initiative on autism is that scientists will use rigorous advanced methods in causal inference, machine learning, organoids, and other fresh approaches to the problem. The sharp rise in the prevalence of autism deserves an urgent response by the scientific community. As Bobby said, the NIH has invested a lot of money to study autism over the years, but the research has not produced the answers that families and parents of autistic children deserve, and autistic children themselves deserve. For too long, it's been taboo to ask some questions for fear the scientific work might reveal a politically incorrect answer. Because of this restricted focus in scientific investigations, the answers for families have been similarly restricted, often pointing families to behavioral therapies that don't work for every kid, or suggest non-modifiable genetic factors as the cause. But genetics alone can't explain such a sharp rise in autism prevalence over just a few decades, as the President said. In coming months and years, as NIH scientists learn more that can help autistic children and their families, we won't delay. Like scientists often like to do, I can say as a scientist myself, it's really tempting to delay, but but in face of a problem like this, you have to move fast. But we will not delay before telling American people about what we find, and we will win the public trust with transparency and rigor. Already, our broadened focus on autism research has pointed to 2 items that will help families prevent and treat some cases of autism. I'll leave the good news on these 2 items to my close friends and colleagues, Dr. McCary and Dr. Oz. We've been working together closely on this problem for the past 6 months, and our cooperation represents an unprecedented collaboration with Secretary Kennedy's Department of Health and Human Services and with President Trump. I'm delighted to introduce Dr. Marty McCary, Commissioner of the Food and Drug Administration, who will tell you about these announcements of practical help for families with autism.
Great, thank you, Dr. Bhattacharya. Mr. President, this is the start of a historic shift in medical culture. This administration is working together to ask big questions about why our nation's children are getting sick so fast. Too often, medicine is doing small little studies, giving us answers we already knew. But we've got to make a difference. You've given us a charge to identify root causes, and we are not going to stop so that we can end the suffering we are watching. And if you've seen a kid with autism, with severe autism, it's hard to watch. Kids get frustrated, they get angry, they can be crying because they want to speak and they can't speak. It's hard to watch, and it may be entirely preventable. For an epidemiologist, that child is an expanding statistic, but for a child, it can be brutal to have autism. Today, the FDA is taking action to update the label on acetaminophen and sending a letter to all U.S. doctors letting them know about the risks in pregnancy. We now have data we cannot ignore. There's a very large study, the Boston Birth Cohort, with researchers that have, from Johns Hopkins, my former institution, and Boston University, found quote-unquote consistent associations between acetaminophen in pregnancy and autism. And the Nurses' Health Study with researchers from Yale, Columbia, and Harvard looking at 9,000 kids found that acetaminophen use in pregnancy was associated with neurodevelopmental disorders. And 4 weeks ago, a Mount Sinai Harvard study reviewed all the existing literature and found the overwhelming body of evidence points to an association. Sure, you'll be able to find a study to the contrary. That's how science works. But to quote the dean of the Harvard School of Public Health, there is a causal relationship between prenatal acetaminophen use and neurodevelopmental disorders of ADHD and autism spectrum disorder. We cannot wait any longer. And honestly, there's been this perfunctory, reactionary, mindless practice in medicine. I learned it in medical school and residency. Just treat all fevers, low-grade fevers, treat them with acetaminophen. Why? What are we doing? A study out of Hopkins actually showed that treating a fever can prolong the duration of illness in a young kid. Maybe that's because a fever is a body's natural way of ridding an infection. When my wife was pregnant and delivered our son a few months ago, they pushed her to take acetaminophen for a low-grade fever. She said no, and then they looked to me and I said, absolutely no. I'm also here to announce good news. Today, the FDA is filing a Federal Register notice to change the label on an exciting treatment called prescription leucovorin so that it can be available to children with autism. You know, autism may also be due to an autoimmune reaction to a folate receptor on the brain, not allowing that important vitamin to get into the brain cells. It's a fairly established, mature pathway. Again, we have a duty to let doctors and the public know. We are going to change the label to make it available. Hundreds of thousands of kids, in my opinion, will benefit. One study found that with kids with autism and chronic folate deficiency, 2/3 of kids with autism symptoms had improvement, and some marked improvement.
Break down what the NIH would do, what the FDA would do, what CMS would do. They insisted that the physician leaders bust through the clutter because their agencies had the power. If we didn't do what every other prior administration had done, which is to let people function within their siloed environments. Because of that, in historic fashion and a very accelerated manner, we have a response today to the autism crisis. It is the first of several chapters, but this is breaking news. You've heard some of it. The response to the autism crisis is going to continue to come to you under Secretary Kennedy's leadership, and the president wouldn't have it any other way, as you've heard. The FDA, based on NIH research, is approving prescription leucovorin for treatment of autistic children. Now, if you're following the script, there should be two questions that you have, two questions that should come to your mind. The first is, how will patients and parents get access to the treatment? I'll tell you how. Over half of American children are covered by Medicaid and CHIP, government health insurance, over half. Therefore, because they're covered in Medicaid and CHIP, upon this label change by Marty, state Medicaid programs in partnership with CMS will cover prescription leucovorin around the country. It's yours, but you have to go to a doctor to get a prescription because they know your child, they know you, and they know the medication. States will also have tools to monitor its use and ensure appropriate utilization. That's important for a bunch of reasons, because we want the right kids getting the right prescription medications. We believe private insurance companies will rapidly follow our lead if they have not already done so. And again, to make sure that this is safe and effective treatment, you need a physician to prescribe the medication because it's on prescription. Second big question. How are we going to collect clinical data to answer the big questions that the President's asking and the Secretary insists that we offer? CMS is also issuing guidance to convene states and existing research networks to support NIH and FDA in their research efforts of prescription leucovorin, while also maintaining the privacy of all patients, all health information of our beneficiaries. Collecting real-world data, which is what many of you have been asking us to do in the community, is fast. It is life-saving, and we'll get answers based on what happens over the next few months with this approach. The aggressive approach, and it is aggressive, demanded by the President and by the Secretary, have already identified risk factors and opened the door for the first FDA-recognized treatment pathway for autism. It is the first of its kind, and it wouldn't have happened without the leadership of the President and the Secretary. The five-fold increased prevalence of autism over the past 25 years demands a rapid response. The average clinician, researcher, we spoke to many, thought it would take 5 years to get this data. Parents are unwilling to wait 5 years. The President is unwilling to wait 5 years for these results. So the President and the Secretary are acting today with this tri-agency move. The administration's bold actions investing in groundbreaking research follow the science. They restore trust, which has been lacking, and they will change the trajectory for millions of American families. Mr. President, God bless you for being brave. So let me introduce Dr. Fink, who's acting administrator, and after Dr. Fink, we've got some wonderful women, Jackie and Amanda. I know it's going to be tough, but if you can make some comments about this historic day. God bless you.
Thank you, Mr. President, for this opportunity to speak with all of you today. As a pediatrician and mom, I'm here today to talk about what this announcement means for the millions of moms and dads who are faced with the choice of whether to take acetaminophen during pregnancy. It's hard to hear information that challenges the status quo. We are sharing this information not to confuse, but to empower parents to make the best choices when taking medications during pregnancy. We are all concerned about the rising rates of neurodevelopmental disorders, including autism. President Trump and Secretary Kennedy are dedicated to radical transparency so that patients have the best, most up-to-date information. We are also sharing this information with our nation's doctors, and we encourage you, as always, to consult with your doctor to make the best decision for you. All too often, it's easy to think that medicines we buy without a prescription pose little to no risk for the mom or the baby. As you heard today, pregnant women who need high fever or pain reduction during pregnancy should take the lowest effective dose of acetaminophen for the shortest possible duration. Most women will not meet these indications during their pregnancies. I am encouraged by these developments today because it is another example of our commitment to the American people to leave no stone unturned in improving the health of our nation's children. Next, I'm going to turn it over to some incredible mothers who are going to share more about their stories, and we're so grateful to have you here today.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President and team, for all your work. This is an historic day, and I'm thankful to be here. I have a son who's 5 who is profoundly autistic, and you've probably heard if you've met one autistic child, you've met one autistic child. It's a spectrum, which I don't think the spectrum is helpful, but that's another conversation. He is an amazing little boy, a blessing from God. He's marvelous. He can count to 1,000. He knows all of his letters and the sounds they make and a word for each one. But he also has a lot of obstacles. He is nonverbal. He can say those numbers and letters, but there's no communication. taking them over to your friend's house, is something we just don't do because, again, they're going to be met with no, 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 and no understanding of why. And then there's a meltdown. And then you're in a situation where you're just helpless and you're just trying to protect your kid. So it's just better not to do it. You learn your limits, and it's been really hard. This is amazing that we're here today. And no one has been able to point to anything to say this is what caused it. And you can't point to that and say it didn't cause it. I have no idea. I am completely open. I'm not blaming anything, but I'm open to the discussion and the fact that there's work being done to find answers. I'm very grateful. I was already excited to vote for Mr. Trump anyway, Mr. President. But when we got word of RFK doing his work, I was ecstatic. I could not wait for this work to be done, that somebody would try to find us some answers. I'm just very grateful. I pray for my son every day and hope that he can get the help that he needs. And just thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Donna. You take care of yourself. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Jackie. I'm also extremely grateful for the opportunity to be here and share my son's story. My son is Eddie. He's 11. He's on the opposite end of the spectrum from what Amanda just explained. He's considered high functioning. He was not always high functioning. He was nonverbal till the age 4. We've had quite a hard time to get to the place where we are today. I am just so grateful to President Trump and the entire administration for finally listening to moms who have been crying out for help, for answers for years. I've met so many other moms with children on the spectrum in the 9 years since my son's diagnosis, and they all have very similar stories, and they've all just wanted somebody to listen, to not ridicule them or look at them like they were the crazy people. It's hard when you don't have doctors that take the time to really listen and find out when the change happened and what change happened. And it's just, I've been praying for this day for 9 years, and I'm so thankful to God for bringing the administration into our lives. And I'm speechless. This day is a day I never thought would happen. I thought that we would never have an administration that was courageous enough to look into things that no prior administration had. So,
And that would mean you just can't tough it out. No matter what you do, you can't tough it out. So that's up to you and your doctor. But there's a very strong recommendation, maybe stronger from me than from the group because they're waiting for certain studies. I just want to say, I want to say it like it is. Don't take Tylenol. Don't take it. If you just can't, I mean, it's fight like hell not to take it. There may be a point where you have to, and that you have to work out with yourself. So don't take Tylenol. Other things that we recommend, or certainly I do anyway, is, and it's so important to me to see the doctor 4 times or 5 times for a vaccine. Don't let them pump your baby up with the largest pile of stuff you've ever seen in your life going into the delicate little body of a baby. Even if it's 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, you just break it up into, I would say 5, but let's say 4 visits to the doctor instead of 1. And certain things I think you should do. We've already taken out and are in the process of taking out mercury and aluminum now. You know what mercury is. You know what aluminum is. Who the hell wants that pumped into a body? And there were rumors about both of them for a long time, but we're having them taken out. We're having them taken out of the vaccines. Hepatitis B, again, that's sexually transmitted, and we think you should wait. I think you should wait till 12. You know, I'm making these statements from me. I'm not making them from these doctors because when they talk about, you know, different results, different studies, I talk about a lot of common sense, and they have that too. They have that too, a lot. But I recommend the hepatitis B. Take it at 12. Sexually transmitted. You don't have to give it to the baby when the baby's 2 years old. And there are a lot of theories on that, but not when they're 12. Doesn't seem to be a problem at all. The MMR and the chickenpox. Chickenpox has already been broken out. It's a singular shot, but the MMR is not. And I've heard for years that there's a problem with it, but they say that there's no problem if you do each shot separately, not put together. So an MMR, go out and do it separately. Don't take Tylenol. Don't give Tylenol to the baby after the baby's born. Every time the baby gets a shot, the baby gets a shot. They say, here, take a cup of Tylenol. I've heard that for years. Take Tylenol. Don't take Tylenol. Don't have your baby take Tylenol. Now, Tylenol is fine for people that aren't pregnant, that aren't in the situation that we're talking about. One very specific situation. If you're pregnant, don't take Tylenol. When you have your baby, don't give your baby Tylenol at all, unless it's absolutely necessary. Don't do it. Break up your visits to the doctors. Break them up. Do it in 5 if you can. Now, it's inconvenient. It's inconvenient. Oh, you have to go back another year later. You're going to go back each year for 4 years, 5 years, 3 years. Just break it up. Break it up, because it's too much liquid. Too many different things are going into that baby at too big a number. The size of this thing, when you look at it, it's like 80 different vaccines and beyond vaccines, and 80. Then you give that to a little kid. I mean, I can tell you that I had a woman who worked for me, a beautiful, wonderful woman, worked in Trump Tower, and she had the most perfect child. Beautiful, just perfect. And I remember this little blonde-haired boy running around the lobby of Trump Tower, so healthy and so vibrant. And I said, that's great. One day I came in and she was crying her eyes out behind the counter. She worked at the front desk. She was crying her eyes out. I've never, as much as I've ever seen anyone distraught, she was. I said, are you okay? What happened? My boy, I've lost my boy. What does that mean, your boy? My boy, you know him, sir. You've seen him grow up. He was so beautiful. And I took him for a vaccine, sir. And he developed this unbelievable, I think she said 107, 108. You know, it goes well beyond when this happens. It goes up to 106, 107, 108. You know, we hear 105 and you're in trouble, but it just goes up to a level that you never hear about, but it goes up very high. And it's fried. They get fried. She said, I took him, he developed an unbelievable temperature. And I've lost him, sir. He's gone. And then I saw the boy. It was so tragic to see. That was the following day. That was the following day after the vaccine. And I've seen it 2 other times, and I think 3 other times, but 2 other times, where they go to the doctor and they get the vaccine, they get the shot. The kid is, badly hurt. Let's be nice, badly hurt. And just do it. Break it up into 5, break it up into 4, break it up into 3 if you have to, but go to the doctor 4 times instead of once, or 5 times instead of once. And for some reason, they insist that you put it all into the body, and maybe that's the drug companies that make more money that way. Maybe it's the doctors because they don't want to be, doing this so much. Maybe it's the doctors. They get maybe more money. Who the hell knows what it is? Don't do it. Get them broken into 4 or 5 visits. Do it 4 or 5. That means you have 20%, 25% what you're putting into the baby's body. It can only help. It can only help. And the other things I told you about, just the word tough it out. It's easy for me to say tough it out, but sometimes in life, with a lot of other things, you have to tough it out also. Don't take Tylenol. Don't give Tylenol to the baby. When the baby's born, they throw it at you. Here, give them a couple of Tylenol. They give them a shot. They give them a vaccine. And every time they give them a vaccine, they're throwing Tylenol. And some of these babies, they're long born, and all of a sudden they're gone. And It doesn't hurt not to do it. It doesn't hurt. There's no downside. There's no downside at all. And break up MMR. Break it up. It's practically a known fact that if you break it up, you're not going to have a problem. But for years, we've been hearing how bad MMR is as a combination. And I'm very happy that you broke out chickenpox because that was really a problem. And there are other things. It's interesting because there are other things, we were talking about it, other different drugs, pills that you take that we know are so bad and they don't take them anymore. But for some reason, with this, they keep taking it. Don't take Tylenol. There's no downside. Don't take it. You'll be uncomfortable. It won't be as easy, maybe. But don't take it. If you're pregnant, don't take Tylenol. And don't give it to the baby after the baby is born. And you know, we have more than 3 years left. And I told Bobby and the doctors behind me, and they are so committed to this, I told them that this is the number one thing I want to do from you. And you know, we have something else called Favored Nations, where I'm going to be reducing drug prices by 1,000%, by 900, 600, 500, 1,200. We're going to be reducing drug prices at levels never seen. It's called Favored Nations. We're going to be paying what right now, we're like the garbage can for the rest of the world, and we have been for forever. We pay much higher for drugs than the rest of the world. We subsidize the rest of the world. We're not doing that anymore. And that's a big thing. That's a big thing. That's bigger than anything. I told the story the other night that I was so proud in my first term that for the final year, drug prices went down 0.25%, and I was so proud. I said, why? I'm the first one to do it. I think it was 28 years, they said, where drug prices went down from the beginning of the term to the end. And I was so proud. I called a news conference. I said, you know, drug prices have gone down. First time it's happened in 28 years. You know what it was? 0.25%. I was so proud. Now we're going to have them go down from $100 a pill to $9 a pill. From $1,300 for a shot of like an Ozempic or the fat, I call it the fat pill or the fat drug. Sometimes it works, I guess, for people. The ones I've seen, it hasn't worked so well. I got a lot of friends, they're fat. They said, yeah, I lost some weight. I said, you don't look it to me. But they paid $1,300, $1,200, and they go to London and they pay $88. And they call me, they go, what's this all about? We're subsidizing the rest of the world stupidly because we have a lot of stupid people in this country running things. And how big is that? But to me, that's nothing compared to autism. I see that gorgeous boy. I have a big present for him in the back. You know, you bring him back. We're going to bring him into the Oval Office. I have the best present he's ever going to get, okay? A big one. I saved it for you, okay? Because I heard you were coming. Look how beautiful he is. So that's it. There's nothing much to say. Don't take Tylenol if you're pregnant, and don't give Tylenol to your child when he's born or she's born. Don't give it. Just don't give it. And we're going to have, I think, really, if you do all the things that I say, break it up. Just break it up. Break up the shots with the doctor. MMRs, as I told you, separate, separate, separate. Chickenpox already separate. You do these things. I'm telling you, I want to, when I leave office, I don't want to have, it's going to be the kind of number that we're hearing where it's 1 in 32 or 1 in 10, because I've heard 1 in 10 also. And in California, it's really bad. I want it to be, let's get it back to maybe 1 in 10,000 or 1 in 20,000 or maybe none in 20,000. And the only way you're going to do that, because this is artificially induced. This is induced by something. You don't go from 1 in 20,000 to 1 in 10,000, then to 1 in 10. That means you're taking something and something's wrong. And I feel very certain, and I know I'll be criticized. Someday they'll look back and they'll say, well, it wasn't, but I think it will. I think we're going to have a tremendous, this is the most important thing. There's nothing more important than me. We cured inflation that Biden gave us. He gave us so much inflation, the biggest ever in history. We got inflation done. We brought prices down. We gave you the largest tax cuts. All that stuff, it doesn't mean a thing compared to what we're doing today. This means everything. So we're going to save a lot of children from a tough life, really tough life. We're going to save a lot of parents from a tough life. Okay, how about a few questions? Let's just make it on this subject. This is so beyond as a subject that I'd rather not talk about, some nonsense on the economy. And I will say this, the economy is unbelievable. The stock market just hit another record high and all that stuff. This means more to me. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, I have one on your announcement, one on vaccines that's also related.
Yes.
Why do you think we haven't heard more previously about the tie to autism and acetaminophen?
Nobody knows. I don't know. Not only that, when you say it, you get attacked. I was saying something similar, not as strongly, because now facts are on our side. But I was saying it with Bobby 20 years ago, and I was attacked. I said, whoa, what was that all about? I had no idea. You get attacked. I don't know. The medical community, the drug companies, doctors, I don't know what it is. All I want to do, I don't care. I don't care about being attacked. It doesn't matter to me. I believe that the numbers at the end of our term or shortly thereafter could be really phenomenal. I want it to go up just like it came down to this horrible level. 1 in 10, 1 in 12. I was told 1 in 10. I was told 1 in 12. Today I heard 1 in 31 if you add the girls and the boys together. It's crazy. And it was 1 in 10,000 and 1 in 20,000. It's not even sustainable for a country. You want to know the truth. And there are other places that don't have it. And they have things in common. And that's called medical research. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, I'm curious as you look at the trend lines, how much of this is the causation of acetaminophen and how much is sort of better diagnosis, doctors, researchers having a better understanding of what is on the autism spectrum?
Do you want to do that? Sure, go ahead, Rob.
That's one of the canards that has been promoted by the industry for many years, that it's changed diagnostic criteria, better recognition. But there's been study after study done of that completely debunks that. One of them by the Mind Institute at UC Davis, University of California. But also it's just common sense, because you're only seeing this in people who are under 50 years of age. If it were better recognition or diagnosis, you'd see it in 70-year-old men. I've never seen this happening in people my age. I've never seen a case of full-blown autism, and that means profound autism. I want to be very careful. Head banging, stimming, toe walking, nonverbal, non-toilet trained. I've never in my life seen a 70-year-old man who looks like that. You're only seeing it in the kids. It's an epidemic.
President, I was hoping that you could clear up confusion for moms and dads across America, many of whom voted for you. There's a statement that was put out by the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, and in their statement, they write, acetaminophen remains a safe, trusted option for pain relief during pregnancy, and that's at odds with what you said and with what many of the experts say. How do you?
It's the establishment. That's the establishment. They're funded by lots of different groups, and you know what? Maybe they're right. I don't think they are, because I don't think the facts bear it out at all. They're fighting for something that, in my opinion, they shouldn't be fighting for. But here's the thing. There's no downside to doing, other than a mother will have to, as I say, tough it out a little bit. There's no downside to doing this. It's not like, oh, if you do this, you're going to die. There's no downside. There's no downside to going over a 4-year or a 5-year period or a 3-year period, or even if you space them out for 6 months, you space it out. There's no downside. And that's why I will say the gentleman behind me, they have very strong views, and they feel that we're right, but they'll have more research done over the next 2 months. I said, well, 2 months is a long time. A lot of people can be saved, and there's no downside to doing it. Everything I said, there's no downside to doing it. It can only be good. And I think you're going to see very good results. That's establishment stuff, and we've been reading that about a lot of things for years. And you know what's happened? We've gone from 1 in 20,000 to 1 in 10,000 to 1 in 32 to 1 in 10. Think of it. 1 in 10 or 12 or 1 in 31. Think of it. 1 in 31 people, young kids, get autism? What is it, Jeff?
My question is about leucovorin. You mentioned that as part of your plan. That is also a chemotherapy treatment. Have you been in touch with the drug companies to
Why don't
increase
I have the
production
doctor
about
answer that?
And just, I'm going to throw in my follow-up at the same time. Dr. Oz mentioned that this will be available with CHIP, children who aren't CHIP. But the big beautiful bill reduced funding for CHIP and Medicaid by $1 trillion over the next 10 years. Are you concerned that that will impact your ability to get this drug out?
I'll explain it to you in a second, but please go ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you. Leucovorin is not a chemotherapy, but it is a vitamin given with chemotherapy sometimes. And the idea here is that the folic acid receptor in the brain is blocked by some antibody response. It might be 20, 40, 50% of kids with autism. And leucovorin will bypass that blocked receptor. And that's why so many doctors are probably seeing so much clinical improvement on kids with leucovorin.
So are you going to increase production?
Yeah, we've been in touch with the companies, and they are prepared to ramp up production. And we actually talked to them about a month ago.
And on your second part of your nasty question, the number is that the great big beautiful bill, which is the greatest, I think one of the best things ever passed in the history, with the tax cuts and regulation cuts and all of the things it does, no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime, all of it does. It also gives $200 million, as just explained by Dr. Oz, and I'd like you to explain that to exactly what you're saying.
The Big Beautiful Bill actually increases Medicaid spending projected over the next 10 years by $200 billion. There's also a $50 billion Rural Health Transformation Fund, which will allow a lot of these programs to get in the rural parts of the country that the President and Congress are handing to governors to start distributing. Those grants have already gone out. The money will be allocated by the end of this calendar year. And I want to point out that the ability of NIH to do research that feeds and hands the ball to the FDA, which then can change labeling to allow Medicaid programs in states to fund this program, will ensure that the things that President Trump and Secretary Kennedy desire are financially affordable for the families around America.
You mentioned CHIP, sir. That's why I asked that question. You mentioned that CHIP would fund this for children.
Well, most of the kids are on Medicaid, probably 43% on Medicaid, another 8-10% on CHIP. And all the programs in general are being evaluated. Most of what the One Big Beautiful Bill was seeking to do was to remove fraud, waste, and abuse. But the programs themselves should stay financially intact for the people for whom they were designed, and in this case, for children.
And the only thing we cut, so that's $200 billion positive. The only thing we cut was for fraud, waste, and abuse, of which there was a lot in this country, and nobody minds that. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, you said that there is no reason to give newborn babies hepatitis B vaccines, but hepatitis B can be contracted not just through sexually transmitted diseases. It can come from needles to open wounds. So when you say you feel, is that appropriate to be telling?
I think it's absolutely appropriate. I think they should wait till they're 12 years old. Yes, please.
You've been talking about reducing autism by spacing out vaccines. Would you like other combined vaccines babies receive to be spaced out, like MMRV?
What is this again?
You've been talking.
Speak up, please.
You've been talking about reducing autism by spacing out vaccines.
Right, correct.
Would you like the other combined vaccines babies receive to be spaced out, like MMRV?
I would say yes, but that just is, for me, it's a lot of common sense involved in this. It's a process, but we're looking, but it should at least be given separately. Now, it's possible that you can reduce them and I'd give them in small doses, but it's possible maybe in that particular case, the MMR wouldn't work in small doses, but you can certainly give them as separate shots. It's been proven to be very safe when you give them in separate shots instead of mixing. So I don't think there's any reason to do that. Do you agree with it? I'm not a doctor, but I'm giving my opinion. I don't think there's any reason to do that. So it's been proven to be safe when you break them up. But MMR by itself, I've heard bad things about it for many years. Yes, please.
Mr. President, is the spectrum too broad, in your opinion? For research purposes, you are dealing with a population of children who might have social boundary difficulties, and then you have children who are, going to grow up to be adults in diapers. I mean, what do you think?
We don't know how broad the spectrum is. We don't know exactly where it starts and where it ends, but we do know what we're going through. We're going through some very serious trouble, and we know autism. I mean, it could be bigger, it could be small, a little bit smaller, but the number is unacceptable. And the number, the way it's come down, because the spectrums remain the same, the number, the way it's come down is just unacceptable, meaning come down to that level of 1 in 10, 1 in 12, 1 in 31. Go ahead, in the back.
This question is more directed towards Secretary Kennedy. It was talked about that we're just kind of finding out about the fact that babies are affected this way. Is there a concern that information is being suppressed right now within HHS, and could an investigation perhaps be launched?
Well, I think information has been really not given out very freely over the years, absolutely. And I think that's by drug companies and maybe doctors, but I certainly think that over the years. I think this is a different group. We have a lot of information. And that information, I mean, it's the information that we have that we're making these statements. And I'm making them out front, and I'm making them loud, and I'm making them strongly not to take Tylenol, not to take it. Just don't take it unless it's absolutely necessary, and there's not too many cases where that will be the case. And again, what's the worst? The worst is nothing can happen. It's very positive. That's a positive thing. But I don't believe I don't actually believe that's possible. I think the results are going to be amazing. I want to see amazing results by the time I leave this beautiful building. And I will consider this, I believe, with the wars, I've stopped 7 different wars. I've saved millions of lives. I've done a lot of things. This will be as important as any single thing I've done, because I know ladies, beautiful ladies just like this that are going through the same thing, and it's not easy. And I admire you for being able to do it. But I admire him too. I wish I had a face that looked like that. If I looked like him, I would have been president a long time ago.
Widely used in other countries too. As you make this announcement, do you expect your decision may affect?
I hope they follow it. Yeah, I hope they follow it. Yeah, other countries are, sell Tylenol. Some countries don't. I mean, I hear Cuba now. Again, you'll have to check this out. But I hear Cuba doesn't have it because it's very expensive, and they don't have the money to have it, or they don't want to spend the money to have it. They don't have Tylenol, and I hear they have essentially no autism. So. You'll have to check it out. Yeah, Brian, please.
Medical professionals have warned.
No, I said, no, not you. You're CNN, you're fake news. Go ahead, Brian.
Mr. President, I want to go back to the Amish community, if I can, just for a second. I recently saw a man from Minnesota, an Amish man from Minnesota, on a podcast, and the host asked him what the rates were for like ADHD and autism, and he had no idea about ADHD, didn't know it existed, and certainly didn't know of any cases.
It doesn't exist with the Amish community, and they don't take all of this junk. It doesn't exist. That tells you, doesn't that tell you? That's like, that's like certain countries where it doesn't exist and they don't take it. Would you like to make a comment about that, Mark?
The Amish population, a very mixed group, so there's a subset that take vaccines, a subset that does not, and we know they have very low rates of chronic disease all across the board.
Please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Should the establishment media show at least some openness to, trying to figure out what the causes of autism are?
I wish they would, yeah.
And why are they so closed-minded?
Well, look, it's not only the media, in all fairness, it's some people. When you talk about vaccines, they go crazy. And, I'm a big supporter of vaccines. I got a certain vaccine approved in 9 months that would have taken from 5 to 12 years. I'm very proud of it. A lot of people think it was one of the greatest things I've done, and some people think, mostly Republicans, actually. I'll tell you, the Democrats think it was, they think Operation Warp Speed was one of the greatest things any president has done, any president. It's, we're very proud of what happened. We got hit with something that came from a place that shouldn't have happened, but it did happen. Those things take place, and you're very unpleasantly surprised. But no, I'm a big believer in vaccines. The polio vaccine, big believer in vaccines. I know Bobby and you guys have it out a little bit, but he's a believer in vaccines too. But I've seen how great vaccines can be, how incredible they can be. So I'm a believer. Yeah. Yeah, please.
Your comments you made about MMR and hepatitis B, I know you said those were your suggestions, but have you spoken with Secretary Kennedy about actually making those changes?
I have, yeah, I have. I've spoken to all the doctors about it, and doctors that are not here right now. I've spoken to many doctors about everything we're talking about. And you know, the Tylenol has started to be spoken of over the last period of time, but we've been doing the research. A lot of what they've been speaking about comes from right here, by research done by these people. And I just say it again, don't take Tylenol. Don't take it. And don't give it to your child after your child is born. And do all those other things, little things, just spread out your visits, et cetera, on the vaccine. And I want to thank everybody. This is a very important day. Thank you very much.